Welcome to the Genius Zone here on Edge Radio Australia. Always a pleasure every week. I actually look forward to it. I don't know if I've told you that. I look forward to your company, Terry. I really do. You bring a vibe to the studio and alcohol. So, it's win-win, right? That's all. You've got the little happy juice. It is, of course, our little afternoon evening ritual.
Yes. Happy hour.
Happy hour. Now, bring your mic in there because you've been so focused.
And
you forgot the talkie stick, right?
Yes.
Because you're so focused on
there you go.
drink.
I've got the talkie stick now, and you're going to regret saying that because I'm going to go talkie all the way home now.
Would you like to talkie and invite our special guest that we have
absolutely.
waiting in the green room?
Yes, indeed, I will. Well, anybody ever heard about voids to value? So if you haven't, did you know that the things that you feel that you don't have in your life are actually your values? They become your values. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to let the expert, and this lady is an activator, medicine woman, alchemist, past life regressionist. Watch out, Aaron.
I'm in trouble now.
NLP facilitator, Tantra. Ooh, Tantra.
I went from trouble to pleasure. Cool. All right.
Embodiment guide. And she is going to turn our radio station upside down today, Mr. Malloy.
Excellent.
So with no further ado, let's bring on the beautiful Krystal Hille. Hello.
Hey, Krystal.
Make sure you are unmuted, beautiful lady.
Yeah. There we go. We can't hear you. There you are.
There you are. How are you?
I am very well. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you in your amazing studio.
Wow.
Thank you.
This is our radio man, Aaron Malloy, and we are all about freedom of speech.
Most definitely. We are. And look, if you're ever in Perth, because I believe you're in Sydney, is that right?
Close, Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Oh, so close.
So close. And yet so far.
Geez, I'll tell you what, I'm not ever going to get directions from Terry ever again. No, that's it.
I told you I get lost going to the toilet.
Clearly. Geez.
Yes.
Lovely. Yep. Bris Vegas is a great place. I have enjoyed that. It's kind of got a bit of a Perth vibe about it. It's very nice. So there you go. Lovely to have you there.
Thank you.
I'm going to hit the road running. This beautiful lady and myself did a podcast the other day, so we're full bottle, no pun intended.
Indeed.
Cheers,
there we go.
Mr. Malloy.
Cheers to you.
And we're going to talk about voids to value. So do tell us all about how a person's voids become their value, and even introduce the master himself of who actually, I guess, was the founder of Voids to Value.
Absolutely. So when I was doing research on interviewing Dr. John DeMartini, who was part of The Secret, I had him in one of my books, one of our anthologies, and he had a quote that says, "Our voids create our values." And what he means by that is that which we perceive as absent in our childhood, in our life, suddenly creates a huge value. Like we want to get the thing that we don't have, right? We always think that the grass is greener on the other side. So that's kind of how I think about it. And so when I came across this, I thought, well, what better way than to help authors or anybody who wants to understand their brand story, to help them to figure out what is their core theme in their life. Because we all are creatives, right? We have so many ideas. And that just distills it.
Yes, I was actually confessing to Krystal the other day that I've got 3 books that are all incomplete.
Really?
Absolutely.
Gee, I thought I was the poor reader around here. Jeez.
Yeah, I've
got 3 books that are incomplete as well. But
my ADHD is just so bad that I haven't been able to complete one. But I don't know, maybe, we talked about how we've got these incredible weaknesses, and like you were saying about voids to value, how our weaknesses also become our strengths. So, what's that all about? Do you want to talk about your own way you've turned pain to power? I know that, you've had some really challenging relationships, your upbringing and the way that you saw the world. And here you are leading people to writing books. So do you want to tell us about your story?
Absolutely. So my void really was disempowerment. And as a child, It didn't look like that from the outside. Everybody from the outside looking in thought, oh my God, she's got the perfect childhood. Everything is amazing, because I was the daughter of a church minister, and like it seemed harmonious. But underneath the surface, my parents, there couldn't be any conflict. So my mom was not very outspoken. Her values weren't valued. Her needs weren't met. And she just lived this quiet life of suppression. And I believe that we as people have the internal makeup of our parents. So I absorbed that from her. And then I was never going to be like my mom. I was never going to be disempowered. But I was her, because I'm her daughter. So there's part of me in her which I rejected. And then I was wanting to be like my dad, who was this leader. He was in the public eye. He was doing all the things. I was like, I want to be like him. So I denied the part of my mom which was the disempowerment. So when we look at our voids, I invite everybody to think about, well, what was your inner makeup that came from your family home? What was the themes that maybe weren't as great as you wanted them to be? So for me, suppression, disempowerment. And then there's events that come as well. So I'll just pause there if you have any questions. The second one about voids,
emotional events. Yes. Yeah. So interestingly, I worked it out with what you did, because what happened was Krystal did a meditation on the podcast the other day.
Okay.
And I said to her, look, due to dead air, we can't, do the meditation
Bit strange on the radio. Just going to say,
just a little bit,
for those who are watching us on video all around the world, that's fantastic. But those who are doing the old audio only, bit dull. Just a tad.
But we can teach instead, right?
We can, definitely.
So, what I thought is, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the experience I had through what you were doing. So you kind of got us to go back on our timeline, back to childhood, and find a time and a place between the ages, I think it was 0 and 7. I'm going to start there. Why did you choose between the ages of 0 and 7?
So the ages of 0 to 7 are what we call the formative years, where the brain development still has us in an alpha state, which means that we are like sponges, absorbing everything without a filter. Everything becomes truth. So we're really impressionable, and everything that happens just becomes our internal makeup.
Like neuroplasticity kind of thing, that the flexibility of the brain.
Sure.
And yeah.
Now, you said, sorry, and I may have misunderstood, you said in the alpha part, is that what you said?
Yeah, the alpha brain waves, which is when the brain goes into relaxation just before we go to sleep. That's when it's most impressionable. That's when we can reprogram ourselves, which is why in modalities like neurolinguistic programming, we make sure that clients go into a hypnosis, they calm down, their breathing slows down, so that we can work with the unconscious.
Yeah. So if you ever have a friend that's falling off to sleep and you want them to do something, just tell them while they're in the alpha state.
Right. Look, I remember many, many years ago where as a child, I used that stage to effectively steal money from my mum. So there you go. Yeah, it's great.
Well, that was cheeky.
Well,
you're meant to do this for good, Aaron.
Hey,
right?
I had a Donkey Kong addiction. I had to feed the monkey, right? So for that reason, when mum was just drifting off to sleep, you just go, "Hey, mum, I need $5." And, you go to my purse, it works.
Yeah, because they're kind of in that blissful state. So here's my next one. So you took us back, and then obviously between the ages of 0 and 7. So now we know that's formative years. It's when we are most impressionable. Then you asked us to bring up a sort of an emotion, what's going on for us. And I recognized personally that the two things that came up for me that I felt that the little child was needing was support.
Right.
And the other one was a feeling of recognition.
Okay.
Or, some kind of a recognition. And as it turns out, perhaps you can take over the conversation here, because being someone who was looking for support, mainly probably recognition, what would you make of that, Krystal?
So we then look at the opposite. What is the opposite of like the lack of support? Clearly is that we give support. So we're looking for the opposite. So we've got your void, which is lack of support and lack of recognition. So I would say maybe invisible, right?
Yeah.
So we're going from invisible to visible, and look at what you're doing now. You're on the radio. You're not visible to those listening, but you have a podcast, and so you're very visible. You're now providing support to your community, to your clients who you're coaching. So you're a perfect example, and as are we all, of how you've turned that void, that absence of what you really desired, how you turned that around, and now using that as a value and imparting that to the people that you serve in your profession.
Wow, that's quite amazing. And, a lot of people, they think that they need to come up with something like, oh, that's right, my dog ran away with the neighbour's budgerigar or something like that. But
Strange neighbourhood. Okay.
it's really about the energy behind it. So, there's like Anthony Robbins, he grew up deprived from, he had 7 different fathers apparently. And, they never could afford even Thanksgiving.
Right.
And so they were very broke. So he now makes it a huge part of his mission. So he kind of turns that into his value. So what about the people out there that haven't been able to recognize that? So, obviously whether I recognized it before or not is one thing. I think your meditation definitely helped me. It really, really helped me. So what was the purpose that we go back to find that, and then what can we do with it? So if there's a listener out there and they go back to, say, childhood to find out, okay, what was missing in my life? Oh, I didn't have enough love.
Sure.
Or I didn't have enough happiness, or I didn't have enough money, or the parents were broke, or I felt humiliated, or whatever that would be. What would you say is the next step for that person who's kind of agnostic? They don't have a clue.
So it's literally turning it around. What is the opposite of the thing that you identified as missing in your childhood? And you can even go on Google and put in, what is it called? Synonyms and antonyms. What is the opposite? Oh my gosh, you know this. Is it antonyms? My God, my brain.
Yes. Anonyms. No, synonyms.
Yes.
And it's slipped my mind. Anyway, I know exactly what you're talking about. So do you, don't you, Aaron?
Of course
yes,
I
you do.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, the anti-one is the anti-one. Exactly that. So
that's the opposite. Exactly. Or you could say, give me the opposite of loneliness, if you really couldn't figure that one out.
Yes.
And then you look at your life and see, well, where did what events and circumstances happened to help me become, in my case, it's empowerment, to help me become empowered. And often we have to go through a dark night of the soul where the disempowerment, in my case, becomes blown out of proportion because somehow we hadn't really fully dealt with it. So we are kind of confronted with it. And there's an event, a pivotal moment that we have to overcome to then show us how powerful we really are, that we can, or how resilient, that will then help us to move to that other side, right? In my case,
you don't have to just, that's fair call. So you don't have to literally just settle for the fact that, look, I'll give an example here. I had someone in my life who was an absolute stage 5 clinger, okay?
Stage 5.
Yeah, okay.
Stageless. They call it stageless.
No. Look, stage 3 is problematic. Stage 5, it's DEFCON 5. It's serious stuff. Now, when you get to that level, what I'd actually found from her past is the fact that she'd been very, very lonely and felt very isolated. So she was doing the absolute opposite. And where I'm going on this is you can rewrite your history a little bit here. You don't have to live in that forever. You can actually be in a relationship, or you can be with, and when I say relationship, it could be romantic, it could be friendship, it could be whatever, work relationship.
Yeah.
And you don't have to live in that, I don't know, that paradigm forever.
Yeah,
you can change it up.
Absolutely. And you actually answered my question, but I was going to ask, because Dr. John Demartini calls it altruism as well. So these voids that we have that become values. So his story I don't know whether you heard his story, but he couldn't read or write, and he was really told by his, I think, 5th grade teacher that he would never amount to anything.
Wow.
And his parents dropped him off at the side of the freeway when he was 15 years old and said goodbye to him and let him go on a journey. And he had his backpack on his back, and off he went, and he met a street tramp.
Okay.
And that street tramp turned out to being a multi-millionaire.
Wasn't Howard Hughes hanging about, was it?
Paul Bragg, I believe,
Okay.
but he was, dressed as a tramp.
Sure.
And he, got to know John. And then, of course, John is now today. I'll let you describe what Dr. John D. Martini does, but it's the polar opposite to him being dumb at school. And I will add, he created an affirmation that I'll never forget. And it was, I am a genius and I apply my wisdom.
Nice.
And but tell us, Dr. John D. Martini, so who did he become as a result? Because I always think illustrations are really great for teaching.
100%. So I remember he was telling me that because he had this learning disability and speech impediment, that he would go and into these books and read thesaurus and different words. So he became a master. He applied himself and he studied, because so in order for him to overcome this learning disability, which is what you were saying, we can absolutely change because we make it a priority. And today he teaches worldwide. He was on The Secret. He is a world-renowned teacher, highly intelligent. His mind is phenomenal. Like if you hear him speak, like his ability to remember things and to articulate really complex concepts is outstanding.
He's a chiropractor too, which is how I came to know
the
him.
Original link.
Yeah, so that was the link. So, altruism, does a person need to overcome their own weakness before it becomes their mastery?
It's a really great question. I don't think we do, because I've taken so many people through this exercise. And I remember one lady in particular, she said, Krystal, I couldn't think of anything bad in my childhood. I had a happy childhood. My parents were happy. We were, we always had enough food on the table. I was just happy. And I said, well, then that's your value. You landed with your value right there in your childhood. And that became your gift, because that's what she could then build on, right? So her story is from this happiness as a child to now bringing happiness into everything she does, because that became the value and the kind of sprinkle that she applies to everything.
Right. And what about, say, let's take Edge Radio, for example.
Okay.
So, freedom of speech. There are definite, significant, pivotal emotional events for the people behind, the vision. And they did not happen as children, though. They were more in adult years.
She's talking about me, clearly. So,
yes. I'm just being very discreet.
I know, jeez. His initials are A.M. I'm just saying. No, I mean, and you're bang on the mark here. For me, I was a person who had a voice growing up, and I didn't feel that I was held back in that regard. But yeah, in adulthood, through shocking events that happened to me, which were truly shocking, that affected people I love very, very much, I realised that I'd lost my voice and that I wasn't being heard. In fact, when I spoke, I was actually being lied about. Quite the opposite. I mean, the injustice in me, and I've always been someone who hated injustice. I've always been, you look at trying to find the fair way for people. So when I lived a life where I was on the end and my children were on the end of injustice so severely, and I felt very clearly that my voice was not heard. In fact, it was far from that. It was censored. It was stifled. Well, my way of counteracting that is to go, okay, we're going to go down that alley, but I'm going to spin this 180. I'm going to go absolutely hardcore with free speech and give everybody, because now I know what it feels like not to be heard. And for all those people who have never been heard or are in situations that found themselves where their voice is not seen as important and they've been diminished, I want to give them that opportunity. So that's why Edge was born, because out of that pain,
Yes.
I went, wow, I don't want anybody else to feel like I feel right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's that it becomes a conviction, doesn't it? And, I was talking to another coach yesterday, and she was talking about how a lot of people, find themselves getting in the way of themselves. So when they're out on their mission, whether it's online or whatever they're doing, it's all about themselves. So they're kind of getting stuck in paralysis, if you will, and because they can't get out of the way of themselves.
Yeah.
However, I thought she raised something extremely powerful, and that is that when you make it about somebody else and your mission is bigger than you, then that's when magic happens.
Great.
So that, just really expounding on that. So let's talk about being an author now. So you obviously are helping people put their stories down on paper. If a person doesn't know where to start, or maybe there's someone like me, they know where to start, but they don't know how to finish, what would you recommend for them? What would be the greatest advice to actually help someone to write their first book?
It all starts with intention. What do you want the book to achieve? Are you writing it for yourself to heal something, to process something, and then becomes a teaching memoir because you're taking the reader on a journey of your life and reflecting on your journey and helping, therefore, the reader to gain insights into their own lives? Are you looking to write a book to build your authority and increase your visibility as an expert in your chosen field of business? There are different approaches. Or is it more altruistic in, like I was sharing with you the other day, that I was working with a lady recently whose son has been incarcerated. And she said, Krystal, I have to write my book right now while it's fresh before I forget, because I don't want any other mother to have to piece together all the information that I had to get from everywhere. I just want them to have a book that they can read, that we can give them, where everything they need to know is in it. So for her, it was that urgency and that need to contribute, as an intention. So there's different reasons. And once we have identified that intention, we can take it from there.
So intention, why am I writing this book? And, and I guess it's true, because even when you look at a lot of social media platforms, and TikTok probably most famously, people are sharing their most, vulnerable life. And some of the stuff that you do get to see up close, you get to see people dying, you get to see, some of the most, crazy. In fact, Donald Trump took over TikTok, didn't he?
Not
when
quite,
when they were going to black it out.
Yeah.
Wasn't it going to go black at one stage?
It's very complicated reasons, but yes.
Yeah, but anyways, ever since, I've noticed that it has really stepped up, and it's become a platform, and I can see how it is helping a lot of people process their pain. And you probably know as a coach as well, Krystal, that, if people are going through, extraordinarily, difficult situations, the best thing to do is write it down. Yeah. But it's about kind of putting it into order. So do you write the end of the book first?
Ooh, that's
great question.
I'm curious.
I don't write the end of the book first. I write the introduction first. So actually, before we write the introduction, we create an outline. Most of the books that I write or help people write are nonfiction, and they create some kind of transformation. So I work with a lot of coaches and help them write their books. And so they take their readers on a journey of transformation. So menopause, we start from just every hot flushes, and then we end up feeling empowered. We've got our things together. And so I ask the authors to tell me, what are the exact steps that somebody needs to take to get from the problem to the solution. So each chapter then becomes a mini solution on the journey to that overall overarching solution that they're finding, that overarching transformation. So once we understand what that outline is, I get them to write the introduction, because that becomes their North Star. Without that, especially with creatives like you, Terry, you will just go off the handle, you fly off, you go down the rabbit hole, some interesting thought has come your way, and off you go, and it's like, oh, this isn't where I'm meant to end up.
You're often like a cat chasing a pointer.
A pigeon, a budgerigar, and whatever comes
else.
along, another shiny object. No, I do hear it. In fact, it's probably a lot to do with why I wanted the Genius Zone to become this, because for creatives, they can be coming from so many different directions, and yet when you think about it, everything sort of can come back to grassroots, like to a core, where it's more like a tree of life.
Okay.
So you've got your foundation, like what is the rock solid. So if we said, for example, you know, what is it that ultimately Edge Radio is going to do for the audience, and, you know, equip them perhaps to know that it's okay to speak. It's okay to speak your mind, because people have been shut down.
It's funny, we kind of look to other people for permission, don't we?
We do, absolutely. And I guess, is that what you would classify is really getting to the main core of what it is that you want to intentionally achieve, and then build everything from outside of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd create like a one statement, like a premise of when you're being asked, so what is your book about? You're in one sentence can say exactly who it is for, what problem it solves, and how it does that. Once we have that, and so this is a very strategic way of approaching that, and I'm known for being somebody who sits at the intersection between strategy and intuition. So, I feel we once we have that foundation, it's like an architect writing the drawings for building a house. That's the logical thing. If in the process of building the house, suddenly there's the most amazing idea that comes in, the plans, the foundation can be adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're starting from nothing, we have nothing to adjust. So we're kind of going off somewhere and we don't know where we're going. But intuition certainly has a place. And I know a lot of creators wake up in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning, and they have this most amazing idea that needs to also be put in this book. And then there's room for it, and we create the room, and we know where it can fit and what we need to adjust in order to make that work.
That's interesting. I remember I was doing, don't hold this against me, I was doing a unit in theology, and Augustine. I was studying on the Augustine, and apparently he used to have cat naps through the day, and his secretary had to sit beside him, because when his cat naps would only go for about 15 to 20 minutes. And so when he awoke, he would have downloads. And
going back to the alpha state, when we have access to the unconscious, we bring that stuff out.
So he would literally, soon as he woke up, he would just start spilling all his downloads, and she'd have to jot them all down, because this is going back in the 1800s or whatever. But so, you know, if somebody, what was the first book you wrote? What was your book?
So the book I wrote most recently is called The Aligned Author, A Writer's Odyssey Towards Momentum and Mastery. And it's all about, like, I wrote it coming up to a year ago now, all about helping authors to overcome self-sabotage.
Yes, because they're good at that, isn't it? Like,
can we go further on that? Because I'm really curious about how does one self-sabotage in an author point of view anyway.
So there can be the overwhelm. It's like, you've got too many ideas, and then you don't know where to continue, and it just all becomes too hard. It goes into the too hard basket. Then there's the people, and I had a client, and you know, when life happens once, fair enough, like stuff happens, right? But then when it happens again, and then there's another one, and then there's a wedding, and then somebody moves and they have to help them. So then there's a pattern of sabotage. And then you have to start looking deeper. So why is this person constantly creating moments and events in their lives that are preventing them from doing the thing they know will move the needle on their business?
It's very
And then we go
interesting.
deeper. Yes.
It's like,
Certainly is.
you know, when something happens once, you go,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
It
then it
happens.
happens again, and then it happens again. And it's like, okay, who needs to change? Now, here's a classic, because Krystal's got a story here, just a brief story,
Okay.
but this is a classic example about how when you change yourself, you can actually change the world. And I know Dr. John Demartini helped me achieve that when I was in Melbourne doing one of his courses.
Okay.
And what it did, before I go over to your story, is it helps you break down one of the biggest hurts you've ever had in your life.
Really?
So, oh yeah.
Okay.
So what you've got to do is you've got to literally identify the person who has hurt you the most, and actually identify that same trait in yourself.
Oh, that's tough.
Yes, it is.
I thought you were going to say when you have identified them, then you hunt them down and kill them. But
No,
okay,
of course.
you know, you do you. Fine.
No,
Okay.
so you cannot. Demartini's theory
Yep.
is you cannot see anything in anybody else that's not in you. So that goes for if you think someone's a rock star, like if
Sure.
you like the way you looked about half an hour ago.
I was wearing a costume, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. Yeah.
And you know, this leads me, before we go over to the brief story, is that Dr. John Demartini is also the one that says you've got to own all your parts as well.
Sure.
So good and bad. And, you know, quite often the grass always looks greener on the other side.
That's right.
And you might be looking at someone else going, oh, why can't I have their life? Or, you know, they're so good. But what you're doing, this is Demartini, is you are actually demoting yourself. So you are, by putting someone else on a pedestal, you are putting yourself in the pit.
It makes sense. You're looking
yeah.
up at them,
Yeah.
and you're therefore, you're definitely putting yourself in the pit.
Yeah. But here is this is a solid example, and I've seen this myself. Tell them the story about how you changed your thinking and how it changed your world around you.
Are you referring to the recent one with the real estate agent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So I was given notice to leave my current home at the end of my lease. I had no intention of leaving, but I somehow had manifested them terminating my lease. And then I realized that they advertised it for exactly the same amount. And so there was a lot going on inside of me. I'm like, why? Initially, I felt abandoned. I felt rejected. I felt maybe I'm not good enough, but I know I'm a good tenant. So there was a lot going on. And then I realized they were reflecting back to me a pattern where I'm always on the run. I'm never safe where I am.
Okay.
And so when I got that, because of the tools that I have, I was able to heal that and say, well, I'm not a victim in this situation. I choose to stay. I choose to live on my own terms. And when I really embodied that, I then wrote them an email saying, hey, I would like to stay. There was a couple of other things that I mentioned, but the short of the story is that I now signed the lease yesterday.
There you go.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And just to add to that, the person that I did break down when I was in Melbourne and collapse, because that's what he calls it, you collapse the you know, the feelings and the emotions. Do you know they rang me during that course and they just talked to me as if nothing had even happened. But it's an energy. And we are the masters of our destiny. We don't have to be the victim of our history.
Oh, damn straight. I won't go into any detail, but something has happened recently that I actually said, guess what? Full steam ahead. I'm not making any changes. In fact, if anything, I'm just going to put the foot harder on the throttle, right?
Good on you.
And rather than, oh, geez, you know, we've got an issue here, you know, rather doom and gloom. No, screw it. I know where I'm going. Foot goes down. That's where we go, right? And the behavior of the other people involved changed quite dramatically.
Yes.
Okay. Where almost like, well, yeah, nothing's happened. You know, we'll just keep going, and there's no changes. And it was quite a dramatic. I know it's hard to explain without going into detail, but that would take forever. But to see
the moral of the story.
Yeah. I put the intention out there, and like, I have no interest whatsoever in playing this game. And the other people, they actually stepped up. That was quite.
Do you know what I reckon's happened there?
What's that?
You know, you've heard the saying Napoleon Hill has got, the one with the most certainty will win. Now, we can be wishy-washy and we can be going along, yeah, she'll be right. And then all of a sudden you get a spunk, like a conviction in your spirit. And then you go, screw it, let's do it. And
that's
then
exactly what I did as well with my situation. The certainty was so strong. I will not be kicked out of my own home without being ready. I'll leave on my terms when I'm ready, not before. And it happened.
I agree. I think there's a T-shirt in that though. Screw it, let's.
Yeah. Richard Branson.
Was it screw it? Let's do it.
Let's just do it.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So we'll all turn up to the Bogan party on Saturday night. And
we are going to have an absolute ball.
We are.
That's what she's teasing me. I was dressed as a Bogan before.
Yes.
With the, I had. It's a pretty impressive mullet.
It is a very impressive mullet. Yeah, and he looks like, if you're old enough to know, the aging. I don't know whether it's a Bay City roll art. That's way past our time, surely. But an aging rock star. But yes, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the word conviction. So that's when there's so much spark in us. It's like nobody can knock us down. That's when we've got the most fierce. So can I just ask, do you have anything here that you'd love to share before we conclude? Because I think we've just about run out of time, isn't it?
We're all good.
This conviction thing is great. And like going back to the self-sabotage in writing a book, the self-doubt that manifests itself in crazy ways in the outside world, that lack of certainty, not making it a priority because we think we're not good enough. And I feel like everyone has a story to share. We all are experts at our own lives. Nobody knows what we know better than we do. So who are we to say that we don't have a story? Because there may just be somebody who needs to hear it in exactly the way that only you can share it.
I love that. It's almost like the soulmate thing, or finding your significant other, that attraction and everyone's blueprint that you've got. And, it's your story. So your story, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, where you live, what you've done, your story, somebody is praying to hear it.
There is always somebody you can change your life by your story. I'm going to ask a little advice then, because somebody actually very recently has asked me about writing a book. Okay. Now, I don't have the skills, quite frankly. I'm aware of that. I don't have the time. I don't think of myself as being particularly creative in the writing sense, but creative in probably every other sense.
Very creative.
Yeah, but
Radio man.
Yeah, but putting pen to paper, not so great. So you know what? There's all sorts of technology that can help. There's ghostwriters. There's all sorts of things that we can do. But I've stopped myself, and this person was like, "I'm going to help you. We'll get this happening." I stopped myself because I thought to myself, I've got so much upstairs here that I want to unleash on the old earth that I can't write a book, because this will have to be a 10-part series.
Wow.
Right?
Well, let it be. Let it be.
Oh, look.
I've got a brilliant question for you, though.
Okay.
Can he actually speak it and then have it transcribed?
Of course.
There you go.
I know. There's no excuse,
so
right?
you just learned how to write a book.
Oh, look at me go.
It's like, which one do you write first, right? And what angle do you focus on? And that's coming back to that question: do you focus on your void value? What are you most passionate about at the moment? What's most alive? What message is most alive within you? And therefore, what stories do you need to share to put into that book with that theme?
No excuse, Aaron.
No excuses.
Now you can speak it into. You can do it on StreamYard. You don't even have to be seen. You don't have to be seen. You can just turn the camera off. You can speak it out. Do it on an unlisted YouTube, and then hand it over to get it transcribed, and then get yourself a book.
How dare you take away all my excuses? How rude! Jeez.
I just made that up.
You nailed it, quite frankly, because I have given myself every excuse known to man. Oh, I've got to do this first. And I mean, let's be frank, I have a list of about, look, it is 5 miles long, okay, written at,
smallest of writing. I've got so many things I need to do and all of that. So I push it down the priority list, which is a silly thing to do. A silly thing to do.
But
So then
that
comes
might
the
be the problem.
question, what would it give you to have a published book right now? And how would it contribute to your community?
Ooh.
To be honest, okay,
Question.
I will sound a bit of an ego here. I think it will contribute to the community quite a lot.
It would.
I think I've got something that,
Huge.
I've got something to offer. And I think it would
Yes.
change a lot of lives.
You better.
So I don't even care about the financial side or anything like
Mhm.
that. I actually do want to make a genuine difference.
Yep.
And that's something I've been trying to do that hasn't been the written word as far as,
Yeah.
writing a book. But I think there's something tangible and
Yeah.
very smart about putting pen to paper.
Yeah. And do you have a show? Don't know whether this is the platform to ask, but do you have a show on, fathers and, children and stuff like that? Because I was going to say, just say if you did, and I don't know whether you do genuinely, then you having a book, people would be absolutely
It's a point to go to, isn't
coming.
it?
Yeah. They
Yes.
would be definitely wanting to get their hands on it. Yeah.
No, I actually, once a week, actually, I'm on somebody else's podcast that goes out. So it's got nothing to do with Edge Radio Australia. But, it's going and reaching the people that I hope it reaches. So
I haven't even invited him on my podcast. Now there's a good idea.
there's an idea. Jeez. I'm going to be busy that day. Sorry.
So you know what, Krystal, I just love how you have elicited this conversation. And, just again, is there anything here that you missed? Because Aaron and I kind of got a bit excited and jumped in there.
I think you were a beautiful example of how somebody gets all their excuses taken away, and so we just got left with seize the day. Don't leave it, because you never know whether you're going to be around tomorrow. And that has actually happened in my reality, in my life, where somebody literally just got the book edited, and then that was that for them.
All right.
They passed away.
You know what? You've just given the title, Carpe Diem. There we go.
There
we
you
are.
go.
There you go. We're away.
Look at that.
Thank you so much for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. And thank you, of course, Terry, for all these wonderful guests that you bring our way. But Krystal, you've brought some great insight, and I thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks for being part of the Genius Zone here on Edge Radio Australia.